welcome back to High Functioning Slightly Faded. For those of you joining us for the first time today, my name is Julie. So I do have a lot of things planned for the podcast in the future, and so many friends want to come on and guest star. I actually have a couple episodes recorded with guests and stuff that I still have to edit and post, but I kind of had to put all that on the back burner because this is episode number 13, and today's August 13th, so it was kind of perfect. I was actually going to record this earlier in the week, but then I just was doing other stuff, so it actually works out too because I'm actually now recording it on the 13th and I'll post it later today. So if you guys know me, you know I love Halloween, I love horror movies, superstitious stuff, Jessica Lange, American Horror Story and all the like. So a girl like me had to take advantage of this being episode 13. And also, I was Jason for Halloween. And then Joe was Jason because he needed a Halloween costume, who, for those of you who don't know, Jason is the murderer in Friday the 13th, the horror movie series. But before we get into the history of 13 and everything else, I want to take a minute to talk about something that's actually scary. And this isn't a superstition or anything. This is actually real life. So before the OMG, you're worrying about nothing, crowd just even wants to fucking pipe up, I'm going to stop you right now and remind you that our federal rights to determine what happens with our bodies and have a fucking abortion if that's what we want, have been taken away in 2021. So 10 years ago, gay marriage was legalized in a case called, I might not pronounce this correctly, Obergefell versus Hodges. And on June 26, 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court held in a 5-4 decision that the 14th Amendment require all states to grant same-sex marriages and recognize same-sex marriages granted in other states, which was amazing. Because genuinely, who actually gives a shit if gay people can get married? I care in the sense that I want my gay friends to be able to get married and it would be so fun. It's going to be a great time. But who genuinely actually gives that much of a shit and thinks that they shouldn't get married to the point that they're like, this should be illegal? Do you know what I'm saying? It's don't you have better fucking things to do? But apparently not. Apparently fucking not. At the time, I grew up in Massachusetts and I have a lot of gay friends now, but at the time, I didn't really know a lot of gay people or gay people that were out. But even still, I was surprised that it wasn't already legal federally because I knew it was legal in Massachusetts. So I was like, what? But it was a very exciting thing, very happy. So following this in 2015, you guys might remember a Kentucky County clerk, Kim Davis, was jailed for 6 days after refusing to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple on religious grounds, is appealing for a $100,000 jury verdict for emotional damages plus $260,000 for attorney fees or whatever. But last month, she filed a petition saying her First Amendment rights were violated by her not being allowed to refuse to administer that couple their marriage license. But that's crazy to me because her job is to administer legal marriage licenses. So you're working for the government and then you're deliberately breaking a federal law by refusing to let someone do something that is legal. Am I wrong there? It's not like she was the cake lady or whatever, wherever the fuck that was. Remember, that was a big deal. That might have been 2016 though, but that lady had a little bit more skin in the game as far as First Amendment rights. She was being discriminatory, but it's at least she has a little more skin in the game. If you're working for the government and you can't just deny someone something because you don't agree with it. Do you know what I'm saying? Newsflash lady, if you have a certain job, you just can't refuse to do certain things. And just because you don't want to. For example, I've literally taken care of convicted pedophiles as patients. Do you think that I agree with what they did? Do you think that that doesn't go against my religion? Yeah, of course, but it's you still have to treat them fairly and give them the same treatment. They're a human being. That's their right. And that's your job. That's just a part of the fucking job. I don't know. But this bitch was also throwing around the phrase egregiously wrong in regards to the Supreme Court decision in Obergefell versus Hodges case. And it's where we heard that shit before, right before they decided to overturn Roe versus Wade. And so it seems like they're trying to use the same kind of legal tactics. And I'm not even the one that really recognized this. It was obviously, I've read multiple articles and watched a few news things about this because this is pretty important to me. And I'm not gay. I don't know if people think that, but I'm not gay. I'm not even bisexual. But that shouldn't matter. Do you know what I just feel why would I not say something if it seems like someone's rights were being taken away, especially when they've already gone after the women's rights? And it's some of you guys need to watch The fucking Handmaid's Tale. On top of everything else, maybe you should watch that because the way it literally explains how they broke down and Gilead even became a thing, which was they overturned Roe v. Wade. Vasectomies become illegal. And it's like, the men are going to be screaming when that becomes illegal. Like all of these things like start becoming legal. I'm sure birth control was illegal, especially because their whole fucking thing was that, I mean, obviously IUDs and stuff were, but like oral contraceptives and even condoms, like I'm sure all of that was illegal there too, because it's like their whole thing was that the birth rates had declined so much. But whatever, like I can't even get into that right now. In the words of Taylor Swift, I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. After watching multiple news stories and reading a few articles about it, like it does sound like overall people and the politicians and like the people that like look into this stuff more and know a little bit more about this than I do, they don't think the Supreme Court is going to take on this case. I mean, they get presented with so many cases every day, like they can't, and it's also like it's such a hot topic and everything else, and like, but also I don't think they give a fuck. These people act like they literally have no consequences to anything. And but one reporter, I think it was in a CNN news story I was watching, he did say though, like they might not take this on now, but they could address it within the next few years. Like just because they don't do it now, that doesn't mean they're not going to address it in the future. So it's like, it's kind of eerie, but at least he was keeping it real, because it's like, especially for those of us who don't work in law and like things like that and still want to have some kind of basic understanding. It's like a lot of times I'll take the time with my patients, especially like because it's like my job, but like to really make sure they understand what's going on with them, because there's so many terms we use that are thrown around and they're like, oh yeah, well I have this and I have that. And it's like, well, do you really understand what that means? It's like, especially because the doctors a lot of times explain things in such complicated terms because they're like uber smart, and also like they kind of have to if they're talking about procedures and stuff, but really try to make sure that they understand, because sometimes too it's like when you're the patient, so I like when people have their family member there, because and I say especially like when they have someone that does help them. I wouldn't just be obviously HIPAA whatever, but I feel like when you're the person that this is all happening to, like no one's really like usually, unless you're like having a baby in the hospital, like for a fun thing, like a good reason, and it's like a lot of times you're having some level of stress and anxiety, even if you're the most chill person. And so like when the doctors are telling you things, obviously it's a little different for people that have long-term chronic issues they're there for, whatever. But generally speaking, on the average patient, it's like you have some level of stress and anxiety going on, and like you are trying to deal with all these emotions, and also take in what the doctors and stuff are telling you when this is all new. And so it's like, you want to make sure that you're understanding what's going on. You might miss something. And so it's good. I like it when people have a support person there, just in case they think to ask a question the other person might not think of till later, or they remember something, they're able to write things down. They don't have as much of that like stress and anxiety haze because it's not happening to them. It's, you know what I'm saying? So I do feel like it's nice when, in the same vein, I like to research things going on in the world, even if it's not my area of expertise, because if it's something that may affect me or may affect people I care about, like things in the news. So it's nice when we have newscasters and stuff that kind of try to keep it real. And also, I try to look into things because, especially like working a weird schedule like I do, like sometimes I have like a few days in a row where I'm working and I hear everything on the news, because every time I'm in the room, the patients are watching the news and it's just like that time or whatever. Other times I don't see anything because either they're not watching TV and I'm working every day, or maybe like, I don't know, it's my day off and I'm going skiing or something. I might not see it. And so I do like to take some time every week. And Joe is always all over the news. He knows things legit before they fucking happen. It's crazy. I swear to God. He's always a good informant. He actually had told me about this before I had heard about it anywhere else, because he literally gets the news reports, the updates on his phone. I think that might give me too much stress and anxiety though. But I do like to understand what's going on, because I don't want to be bullshitted by these fucking people who try to pull the fucking wool over your eyes and then take your rights away and fuck you over and make you owe money and like all this. They do it in every fucking industry. Like, and so anyways, getting back, I'll go on about all these scam artists and con artists, especially when they're supposed to be doing a job that's for the people. It seriously grinds my fucking gears. But going back to what we were talking about, according to ABC, at the same time that same-sex marriage was legalized, 35 states had statutory or constitutional bans on same-sex marriages, and only 8 states had laws enacted explicitly allowing same-sex marriages. Another scary thing is that so far in 2025, 9 states have either introduced legislation aimed at blocking new marriage licenses for LGBTQ people, or passed resolutions urging the Supreme Court to reverse Obergefell at the earliest opportunity. And it's like, this is upsetting, but it's like, I guess it's not that surprising if 35 states had at bans or somewhat bans and things like that on same-sex marriage at the time that it was legalized. It was only 10 years ago. I saw someone being like, fucking Obama tricked, like, is the one that caused all of those, like, happy sounding, like, clapping, cheery music, like Mumford and Sons and shit, to be popular, because he thought he led us to believe that we were living in a good world. And it was like, it's so true, because it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I was a freshman in high school 10 years ago, and I remember this being legalized, and I was surprised that it hadn't already been legalized. Like, and I'm 25. You know how many gay people I know? Isn't it like, I don't know what it is for women, but I think for men, it's like, what, 1 in 10 or 1 in 11 men are gay? And it's like, I know there's like some tweet or something that's like, I genuinely think people that are seriously homophobic, they have to be somewhat secretly gay or questioning, and they just hate that about themselves, because it's like, I would have no issue being around gay people because I'm not gay and I'm not again, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to seduce me because I'm not gay. I'm going to be like, oh, no, sorry, I don't swing that way. But like, it's the same thing. Like, if you put me in a room with, like, I don't know, fentanyl, I'm not going to be like weird about it. But if you put someone in there that's like an addict or a recovering addict in there, they're going to be like wanting that. You know what I'm saying? And it is such a crazy thing for someone to say in regards to this, but it's like, seriously, it's like, I just do not understand what the obsession is that this even has to be brought up right now. They just want to divide us. Like, this has nothing to do with anything other than like people that are in power and that are corrupt. They want us to be divided at like literally like the molecular level, so they can just do whatever they want, and so no one like actually says shit when serious shit's happening. This is so fucked. But you know, those annoying ass Southern Baptists, the nation's largest Protestant Christian denomination, overwhelmingly voted to make overturnings of laws and court rulings, including Obergefell versus Hodges, that defy God's decision for marriage and family, a top priority. Big surprise, you know. Do I care if Southern Baptists see this and get mad at me? No. I'm Catholic. I'm genuinely sure as shit that they already probably don't like me. Dude, I think, what was it, the Westboro Baptist Church, which is it's like a soup. They're always in the news for obviously being hateful against gay people, but like especially doing shit with celebrities and going to concerts and stuff. And like, I remember being like 14 or 13 on Stan Twitter, and it's like, oh, Westboro Baptist Church is like going to like protest fucking One Direction concert. And it's like, why? None of them are actually gay. Like, yeah, some fans had like these theories that they were gay, but it's like, they're not actually gay. Like, they literally just sing songs about like, girl, you're so beautiful. You know, well, I mean, they have other songs too that are like a little more deeper, but like they have a lot of songs that are just like, girl, you're so beautiful. Like, why don't you see me the way that I see you? You know, like that kind of classic boy band type of thing. Like, but we're actually going to get into One Direction a little later on this episode, so I'm not wasting the time on that. But my point is, like, these people are just wasting their own fucking time. And then it's like, but I guess like they're getting what they wanted, because now that was what, 10-ish years ago, and now look at what the fuck's happening. So it's like, I guess they did have some kind of fucking impact. But when the Supreme Court did legalize gay marriage, it was legalized in a 5-4 vote, as in like 5 in favor, 4 against. When I'm researching this, I'm wondering, because I was pretty young at the time, so I didn't really know. I'm sure we learned about it in school at some point, but it's like, I got all those fucking brain injuries, and that was years ago. But so I looked up who was on the Supreme Court in 2015 that voted on this decision, and I was hoping to find which way they voted, and I was able to. And then also who is still on it. And, you know, I didn't have enough time to really do a deep dive into if a lot of their views have changed, but I'm just going to try and guess that they probably haven't, you know, unfortunately. Even though, like, one of the articles I was reading about this was saying that between 2015 to 2020, which is around the time it flattened out, but it's around the same now, support for gay marriage in the US was only 60% in 2015, and now it's 70%. And I don't know, like, they didn't send me that poll. I'll sign it, you know, maybe 70, let's get it to 71. They didn't send me that poll, you know. But so when I looked into this is what I found. John G. Roberts, who was on the Supreme Court then and still is, surprised some people, I guess, at the time. I was reading some, what was this article from? It was, some like school thing. Oh, it's from the Tribune Washington Bureau. This is, I don't know, Supreme Court makes history's 5-4 gay marriage equality ruling. Oh, this might be someone's paper, but I don't know. They had the citations in there, so whatever. But at the time, I guess, he had surprised a lot of people by voting against gay marriage. People really expected him to vote for it, but he said that he felt like well, he thinks it should be legalized or some shit along the lines of this. Like, he may not have said that directly, but he implied it. I mean, people were like, a fair amount of people were surprised that he voted against it. I think they thought it was gonna be like 6-3, and but he said it should be lawmakers in each state that get to decide the legality of gay marriages. So whatever. I would hope that he has changed his mind since then, but I mean, even if he has, all these people are such pussies and won't stand up to fucking Trump that it's like, and these fucking crazy people that he might vote, you know, whatever way just to keep his job if he felt like that was at stake. I mean, I don't know, maybe he'll surprise me, but hopefully this doesn't even get put on there. Hopefully they don't even fucking take it. But then justices, you all know him, you all hate him, Clarence Thomas and Samuel A. Alito Jr., they also voted against gay marriage, and they also still are on the Supreme Court, unfortunately. Thomas is that stupid ass who is against interracial marriage legalization, but he's a black man in an interracial marriage. Make it make sense. And then we have Sonia Sotomayor. I might not be pronouncing these names right, so I'm sorry. I am trying. Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, they're still on the Supreme Court, and they voted to legalize gay marriage, Queens. And then Justice RBG, Stephen G. Breyer, and Anthony M. Kennedy, they voted in favor of legalization, but none of them are on Supreme Court anymore. RBG has since passed, and as some of you may know from a past episode, I did express my frustrations of she should have stepped down while Obama was in office instead, and when especially, I'm just gonna get myself fired up about this again, but she should have fucking stepped down when Obama was in office. She should have fucking known, or at least just done it for the security of America. Like, that was a failure on her part. That was really just like an egotistical move of hers. But anyways, she has since passed. Rest in peace. She did a lot of good things otherwise. And then Breyer and Kennedy have retired. I don't know when they retired though. So hopefully one of them retired while Biden was Biden was president. I didn't have a chance to look into that. But the new Supreme Court members since then are Ketanji Brown Jackson, who most likely would vote to keep gay marriage legalized. And then we have Neil M. Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, the alleged rapist, and Amy Coney Barrett, who many of you know she's not my favorite person. So let's all hope they don't take this on, and let's hope some of them somehow have a heart, and maybe it's fucking de-thawed. We'll see. But some good news, if there even is any good news here, is that the 2022 Respect for Marriage Act requires federal government in all states to recognize legal marriages of same-sex and interracial couples performed in any state, even if there is a future change in laws. So while obviously this is not a perfect defense against these bigots and psychos trying to change the law, and for literally no other reason than just to like be hateful, probably having like too much free time on their hands, whatever, at least we do have a law that protects the marriages that have already happened. And just know, all of you will always be welcome here in Mass if you ever want to get married. And just so everyone knows, I'm obviously willing and ready to fight and advocate for my gay friends out there to the death. But it's like, I really hope this isn't something that we all have to go through. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Like, when is the when are the floodgates gonna break? Like, this is just like, people, no wonder there's a fucking mental health crisis. Like, the stress on everyone's lives right now, like, what the hell? You can't even, like, everything's so stressful. We don't want to have to worry about our rights being taken away. And it's like, if you don't care about it because you're like, oh, I'm not gay and I don't have gay friends or whatever, you should care, because that may not be true forever, first of all. And even still, you should care because, I mean, again, obviously, I know we're not at the point of like the Holocaust and stuff like that, but like, how do people not hear that poem, that extremely eerie poem that's like, first they came for whatever, the socialist, and I didn't say anything because I'm not a socialist. You know, it's like, then they came for the Jews and I didn't say anything because I'm not a Jew. And then they came for me and there was nobody left to say anything. Like, obviously that's just me paraphrasing that, but how did you guys not hear that poem? If you haven't heard it, you got to fucking look it up. You should have. It is like one of the most haunting things that if anyone's like, what radicalized you? Maybe that, you know, I don't know. I think it's just being raised in a religion that obviously is known for being conservative and strict and everything else. But my family's like Irish Catholic. So it's like, I know people joke around that adds a little magic to things, but it's like growing up in the Roman Catholic Church, like I never ever was taught or thought like there was anything wrong with gay people. You know, that's never anything that I've thought or been taught my entire life. It was always literally Jesus loves little children. You know what I mean? Like, it's not our position to judge other people. Like, even in school, if we were like, I don't like this person, my mom would be like, you shouldn't say that about someone else. Like, you never know. You might be best friends with them in the future, or you might change your mind about that. Like, you don't even know them. Like, you can't judge them. Like, and it would be annoying. It's like, and my Grammy lived by, like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I'm not saying that I'm the CEO of that, but like, I'm just saying, like, now, like, I can be kind of bitchy, but in general, like, those are the things that I was raised on. Like, don't judge other people. You literally shouldn't care what other people are doing. Like, it's like God like doesn't even want you to judge other people. Like, that's a sin in itself. Mind your damn business. Like, that's literally what it is. So I don't know, like, it's crazy to me. Like, I obviously know that like the Catholic Church isn't perfect, and like Protestantism is like not that crazy far from Catholicism, although it kind of is at the same time too, like when you really get into the nitty gritty or whatever. But the way that I'm just like not claiming them, but it's like it all comes from the same thing. And it's like, if you actually look at what Jesus was teaching and preaching, if like that is something that matters to you, or even if it's just something that you're like, you know what, I've always had these thoughts about Christian people and stuff. If you actually look at what Jesus is teaching, it's what I'm saying, which is like, don't judge other people. Like, he was siding with the fucking prostitutes, and he was standing up for like the poor. It's like, that's what you're supposed to be doing, the people that need your help. But whatever. Like, I'm literally like, I people just they turn things into what they want to turn them into, you know. So if you don't think you should care about this, I just have news for you. You should, and hopefully that if you haven't already woken up, you realize that before it's too late. But back on to the lighter topics of this podcast episode. So I did some research into the history, because why the fuck is 13 even considered an unlucky number? Oh yeah, guys, it is the 13th episode. Get back to all that. I mean, when my manager built my unit a few years ago, everyone said he was crazy because they were like, why'd you put a 13th room? Because none of the other floors have a room 13. And it's like, we did have a little bit of bed bug infestation allegedly in there a couple years ago, or it was just like unlucky that it was that many people. That room just like remains unlucky to me. Like, I think it's just like remembering that everything's good now and everything, but but it is like, it's like there's nothing objectively wrong with it, but it's like, obviously it is like, oh, room 13, you know. But can we trust the Insta baddies with their theories on it stemming from sexism? I know they've been saying a lot of things about the fertility goddesses and stuff, which I didn't have a ton of time to look as much into that, but I did keep with the research that I did do. I kept seeing the same kind of theories as far as just like more common things that I was seeing over and over again. So that's really the main things I'm going to stick to. But it could be stemming from sexism too. Who would be surprised by that? But I did some research about it. So there actually is a word to describe people who have a fear of the number 13. But I can't even sit here and act like I can pronounce it. I can't. Some historians do think that the fear of 13 stems from the juxtaposition to the luckier number 12 that often represents completeness, like a dozen, a year, 12 months, you know, Jesus' apostles, the Olympic gods, there's 12 of them, etc. Like, there's a lot of things that repeat that are like important things that are in 12s. And it is believed that the superstition about 13 being unlucky started around the Middle Ages, but then I see other stuff that's even older. So it's like, but this is like, I think where the modern superstitions around it come in. So some people think it may even be related to the Knights Templar who were arrested for heresy on Friday the 13th, October 1307. Ancient Romans also considered 13 to be a bad omen, foretelling ill fortune and death. In addition to that, in mythology, there are many unwelcome 13th dinner guests, like Loki was the 13th guest at Valhalla, where he tricked another attendee, I guess, into murdering some god. Judas, famously the apostle that betrayed Jesus, also hit song by Lady Gaga, was also the 13th guest at the Last Supper. So for centuries, hosts have avoided having 13 people seated around a dining table, convinced that the first person to leave would die within the year. Isn't that also a thing in Harry Potter? It's like the first to rise, when 13 sit down to dine, the first to rise is the first to die or something. And then it's like, they thought it was only 12, but Peter Pettigrew was there as the rat. But 13 is not the only unlucky number there is out there. In Japan, it's 9, I guess. China is 4. Italy is 17. And of course, 666 is famously associated with Mark of the Beast and is often avoided. I will say, though, in some of the research I was doing, it sounds like for some of these, like I believe, definitely for 4, I think for 9 too, the way that they're pronounced in the language sounds very similar to words like death and like bad things. So that is part of the reason that they're associated with being unlucky, which like that kind of makes sense to me. But there is one lovely lady out there that has a bit of a different experience with the number 13, however, and that is Miss Dr. Taylor Allison Swift. And as this is August 13th and my 13th episode of the pod, I have to mention that Taylor finally announced her 12th studio album. I'm so excited. As you can tell if you're watching this on the video, I am wearing all orange in honor of It's Going to Be Orange. And we finally have the orange album. If you guys aren't familiar, like she has albums and like each era is like a different color heart, and like it's perfect because the emoji's on like Apple, so then when you're tweeting about it and everything, it's just so perfect. But the album is going to be called The Life of a Showgirl. I love it, so cute. And I'm so excited to see what the cover looks like. They're gonna post it, I think, later today when they show it on the New Heights podcast. So it's a very exciting day in the Swiftie-verse, I guess. Yeah, so it's a little 13 information and definitely a little bit of a Taylor Swift fun thing for those of us out there that care. And for those of the single men that are listening to this, for some reason, you should care. If you want to get a girlfriend, you got to pretend like you care, give a shit about Taylor Swift if you want a nice girl. I just hate to tell you. But so last weekend, I went to a housewarming party for one of my sisters and I's really good friends. And when we got there, we walked in and we're like, oh my God, like, there's Richie. Like, we're looking around and seeing all of our cousin Leo's, like, best friends. And we're like, what the fuck? And they're all like, did Leo tell you guys to come? And we're like, no, like we didn't even know you guys were coming. He walks in and like we're saying to Leo and he's saying about us, we're like, we didn't know each other was going to be here, you know? And this is so funny. What a funny coincidence. Like even my sister was like, it literally feels like it's our party because we know so many people here. I was like, I know. But what happened was one of Leo's friends is dating one of the girls that's the roommate, like one of the roommates there. So that makes sense. Small world. But it was a great time. But when we saw them, they were all like, oh my God, we're having Oystoberfest next weekend. You guys got to come, which I guess is like, I don't know if they've done it before, but it was really fun. And they were like shucking oysters and they had like 2 kegs and they also had like ribs and stuff. And I was like, damn, if I knew there was going to be this much food, I wouldn't have eaten before I came. I know people said this was crazy, but like if I'm drinking alcohol and it's like 80 something degrees outside and I'm standing in the sun for part of it, like I just don't want to take the risk by eating seafood. Like, and I do like seafood. I'm not anti, but it's like raw oysters. Like, what if you got one that was a little weird and like you're already kind of dehydrated? Like, and it's like you might be feeling fine, but you know when you're drinking and it's like it's multifactorial and it's just like that one thing that sets you over the edge. I just didn't want to take that chance. I had to work the next day. I was actually supposed to work the day of the party, but speaking of gross things, they were. My sister made a joke because she did like one of the oysters or whatever, and with lemon, obviously. And then there was McGillicuddy's nips on the table where they had the oysters and stuff. And she goes, "Oh, haha, like someone's doing them with McGillicuddy's nips or whatever." And I was like, "Ew!" But then I guess some of the boys did do them like that. I'm like, that is literally disgusting. That makes me like nauseous just thinking about it. The menthol McGillicuddy's. But anyways, I was supposed to work the day of the party, and so. Like, I'd been asked to go, but I was like, I can't. I got to work that day, whatever. But then I got a call from my charge on Thursday when I had floated, and he was like, what are you doing tomorrow? Do you want to come off Saturday and work tomorrow? And I was like, oh my God, duh. Obviously, I was going to say yes to that. So then I was able to go to the party, so I was happy. And, like, it was a good time. It was a good time. And I also got to meet one of my mutual followers, his girlfriend, who is super nice. She's beautiful, super fun, you know. One of our friends that came with us to the party, this is just a little... If you're a newly single girl trying to go out, advice that I had given her, she's newly single, one of our friends that was coming with us to Oystoberfest. So I called her before when I was getting ready, and I was like, what are you wearing? And, you know, and just so you know, there's going to be a lot of really cute boys at this party. And I was like, a lot of them are single. I actually wasn't confident about that, but I was like, I had to get her ready, you know, because there were going to be a lot of cute boys at the party. Maybe they had other cute friends. I mean, it's a cute boy friend group, you know. But I was like, it is a summer party. So if I were you, obviously you guys know I'm not anti wearing bright colors, but especially in the summer, it's like my older sister actually said to me, because like, I feel like when we first would be like going out together, like when we got a little older and it was summertime, she'd be like, you need to put a little color on. Like it's July. Like you can literally wear that year round. And it's like, you got to get out of that basic Southie bitch uniform with the black and the blue. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's super cute. But, like, you can wear that in the winter. Like, you might as well wear a little color if you're going out, especially if you're, like, trying to give yourself a little confidence boost and go out and, like, hang out with a bunch of cute boys after you just, like, broke up with your boyfriend or whatever. But I also told her, I was like, you don't have to wear makeup because obviously no one has to wear makeup ever. But, like, if I want to have like a no makeup look and I just feel like I look dead, I will put a little blush on, and if it's the summer, I'll put a little bronzer on too, just so like I have a little bit of life, you know? And she was like, oh, that's actually a good idea. And I could tell she did. She looked really cute. She looked pretty. It's just like a little bit of a confidence booster. And actually, I told Kayla and Shelby this before we went to Out Loud Fest. And like, I was like pretty stoned or whatever before we left. And, but they were putting this, so Shelby had this sunscreen. It was like the zinc sunscreen, which is awesome. But that shit goes caked on white, and like it takes a little bit to rub in. So like that's the shit I was using when I split my forehead open, so it didn't scar that bad. Like that's the old fashioned like lifeguard like nose sunscreen shit. Kayla put it on her face, and then she was like, "Oh my god," because she looked so white. Like obviously, but it was just so funny. And I was like, "Listen, I have this tip, and I'll do it, but like." You guys got to keep in mind, like, I was like, I don't know, I'm high right now. Like, I don't know how good this is going to be. So I, put a little blush on her and I put the bronzer on. And at first she looked crazy and they were like, Julie, I look like a clown. And I was like, seriously, just keep blending. I was like, I might be crazy. And if I'm crazy, then wipe it off. But I was like, just keep blending and it's going to look right. I promise you. Like, I know it looks bad right now, especially because this face was still so white from the sunscreen a little bit. So it like just made it look worse. And then you know what? She ended up looking good and they were like, oh, okay, slay. Like we're not trusting you halfway through there. And I was like, you just got to trust the process. But so when you trust the process, it actually blends out pretty good. But that's just a tip from girl to girl, you know. But after Oystoberfest, Joe was working and I got him to pick me up, which was goated. I was so happy. And he got me pizza at Market Basket and it was actually so good. The pizza from Market Basket. I was eating in the car and it was just so good. Which this was kind of messed up with me to do this, but so the bed me and Joe have at our apartment is I got my own room for the first time senior year of college or going to senior year of college. And so I obviously was like, I'm getting a queen size bed. And I took it home from me when I graduated. But so that bed frame has been put together in Amherst, taken apart in Amherst, put together at my parents' house, taken apart, put together here. And the thing is, like, especially like some of those screws were stripped, like especially because like did I put it together right every time? That's up for debate. I think I did, but like if some of them went in a little crooked, they definitely got stripped. But it wasn't the most expensive bed frame, not the end of the world, but like obviously you have to buy so much stuff when you're moving an apartment, everything. Like we didn't, like we're just gonna use this and then if it breaks, it breaks. But the way our bed is set up, like typically we both just like kind of jump on the bed from the same side, and that maybe isn't the best thing, but the bed frame definitely has been fucking broken. But we ordered one that came in early, but we had been working every day, so we couldn't set it up, and it was driving me crazy. So I woke up a little late, which I was mad because I was gonna try to get this done before I left for Oystoberfest, but I couldn't. And I took like everything up from under our bed. I took the bed apart, put everything in the other room, and so when we got home and Joe picked my drunk ass up at Oystoberfest, he's like had a long day at work. He's done a bunch of overtime, so he's just like so dead. And I'm hammered, and we get home, and it's like the mattress is on the floor in the living room, and there's no bed set up. So Joe actually was a good sport about it, and he set the bed up, the bed frame up, and everything. But I definitely feel like he was low-key mad, but I made him dinner, and I helped him out a little bit, so like it was good. And we slept so much better because the bed frame wasn't like falling apart on us, you know. It definitely was better for sure. And in my drunken stupor, I made because I always, when I think of things to talk about on the podcast, I'll make a note on my phone. And on my notes for this episode of the podcast, it said Orange Voodoo Ranger. Accidentally, I got neutral lemonades. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I did get my sister an Orange Voodoo Ranger at the liquor store. And then she asked me for neutrals. Like she said, the plain neutrals. But I've only ever gotten the neutral lemonades because the first time I was introduced to them, they didn't even have the seltzers. They only had the lemonades there where we were in Florida. And they're good. So it's like, that's always what I get. And like, I just wasn't thinking about it. And so I got her the lemonades and she was like, I definitely wanted the seltzers, but like, I guess I'll drink these. I was like, oops. So I did feel bad, but something about me drinking all day, like I was really like, there was something really funny about that story. I was ready to really share with you guys, but it really wasn't that crazy of a story on the retail. So I'm not quite sure what it was. But so obviously anyone who knows me, or listens to this podcast at this point should know that 1, I love One Direction. I was always a huge One Direction fan. 2, I love Charlie XCX, Brat, etc., all that. And 3, I own a One Direction Brat t-shirt. So many of you have heard my theory too about how, so for those of you guys who don't know, Brat, obviously iconic album, defined the summer of 2024, green, Brat, grungy, etc. I'll get into it a little more as I keep talking about this, but written by Charlie XCX. She then released later in the summer an album that, it might have been in the fall at that point, but it was like the whole Brat album again, plus every single song on the album remixed. And she had been releasing a lot of the remixes as the album had come out anyways. Like Guess had come out earlier in the summer. The one with Addison Rae had come out early in the summer. I don't know why I'm blanking right now. Von Dutch. But I had this theory because the only song on Brat that wasn't remixed was Hello Goodbye. And I had this theory that Harry Styles was supposed to be on it because he'd sound so good on it. And around that time that it would have come out was when Liam died. And people were theorizing that Harry was going to start releasing music or singles. And obviously he's been in the studio since then. But he was going to start releasing things, but then potentially you start just doing things. But then when Liam died, obviously it was his close friend. Like that's not, it's not crazy inappropriate that he would be taking time off after that. But Hello Goodbye to this day is still not remixed. So this is my theory. And I you know, I don't know. I feel like they would have pushed any single like release back because it would have just been disrespectful to Harry, you know, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see as time goes on. But moving on, the reason I'm bringing all of this up again is because I need you all to be very clear on something. That yeah, while my 1D Brat t-shirt is funny and everything else, and it's cunty, whatever, One Direction are by definition very Brat. So I know to those of you who did not manage a Stan Twitter account from like what 2011 to 2016, like you may not have realized a big part of One Direction's marketing that is different from like I feel like the average boy band is that they were definitely marketed based on their personalities. And they like typical boy bands, they all were supposed to have like one uniform look. Like typically if they'd go out, that all of the matching outfits, and occasionally One Direction would do that, but like it would be like maybe they're all wearing black but then their outfits are all completely different. You know what I'm saying? Because you'd see them out and you'd see them on stage and they'd wear different things, but like they also, like, there were times where they were, and obviously the first few albums had a lot more Liam, Zayn, and Harry solos than Niall and Louis, and it more evened out as the albums went on. But also when you're in a group like that, just because someone, like, the harmonies are just as important. Like, we still need to have those parts, and obviously Niall and Louis are amazing and harmonizing. They all are, though, but it wasn't as much like In Sync, where there's the JC Chavez versus Justin Timberlake, where it's like, that is the front man. We're advertising him. Even Destiny's Child, like, all three of those girls had the spotlight. Beyonce like kind of was the lead singer, but again, in groups like that, like if it's a vocal group, that doesn't necessarily mean there's not, like they don't always just do one is the lead, whatever. It obviously just depends, but One Direction definitely did a lot more like they're all singing and they all kind of get their own marketing and things, and they're not really making these individual appearances. I guess obviously it was a little bit different after Harry dated Taylor Swift and stuff like that, but that's a different story for a different day. So what they did was they would market them by their personalities, and like whether or not it was genuine to their real personality at first, and obviously things changed because Liam was marketed as like the responsible like daddy direction one because he had the most experience in the music industry when the groups first got together, and there was obviously a clear divide between how their personalities are marketed on the X Factor versus after. But a big reason that they grew in popularity, and part of the reason that they did this, is because when they were on the X Factor, they would do video diaries, which I think all the people did, and the people like fell in love with them from that, because obviously teenage girls were like, oh my god, these guys are cute, they're funny, they're creative, they can sing, you know, they're British, like, and these videos went viral, really, like, or like it really definitely got people, especially girls, as they'd get into One Direction from other countries like the United States, like people be like, this group, like this is really cool, and you see them in interviews and you're like, oh, they're like, what are, I don't know, One Direction funny moments, and you kind of get into it that way. But that was a different way that they are marketed compared to other groups before that. Obviously boy bands come in and out of style, and if you're not catching or creating the wave of like that pro boy band publicity, you're not gonna end up big. Like that's why every once in a while you're here with like some fucking random boy band no one really knows about, and it's like it likely would probably existed in those years where, because that's what it seems like. It seems to come in waves that it's like they're super in, then they're super out. It's super in, super out, because it's not cool to like boy bands, because it's not cool to like things that teenage girls like, obviously. Don't you know that? That's like, it's so crazy. But you're not gonna end up as big as 1D, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block, anything like that. Like, but One Direction, they were kind of like the anti-boy band, and like they kind of were being marketed like that too. Like instead of dressing them all the same and pushing like one of them to truly be the front man, like I was saying before, like they pushed them each as marketable personalities, and like they almost had a little bit of a rock edge to their music, which really was different than like the bubblegum boy band, like pop boy bands of the past. A lot of them, like, they even would push that ideas themselves, and they'd be like, well, we're a cool boy band. Like Zayn even famously said that, I think, a few times, like, we're not like other boy bands, we're a cool boy band. And they often literally wore like the 2013 to 2014 era grunge slash Tumblr clothing, you know, often appearing more pop rock than boy bandy. I mean, they toured with Five Sauce multiple times. 5 Seconds of Summer, that is a pop rock band, for those of you that don't know and live under a rock. But they would all like, they literally wear like ripped up clothes and shit, which obviously that's not normal for a boy band to be doing that. And they also weren't like big on the dancing scene, you know, and many people do associate One Direction with super poppy music, and they do have their fair share of poppy songs or whatever, but even on a lot of those songs, there still is that little bit of that rock edge. I mean, they truly did have that, whether or not you want to admit it. And a lot of them did have that kind of influence too. I mean, Harry's music now is super rock oriented too. I mean, they even talk about it in their movie This Is Us, that like with What Makes You Beautiful, which is obviously probably one of their biggest songs, if not the biggest song, but it's the biggest hit off the first album for sure. They incorporate instruments and things like guitar riffs and instruments that you wouldn't normally hear in a pop song to give them a little bit more of a rock edge. And that's almost like what hooks the teen girls, you know? It's like gives these teens from rural slash suburban Ireland and England a little bit of an edge in their sound. And with their first album, like there were a lot of like club pop hits because that's what was big at the time. I mean, you have to think their first album came out, I want to say it came out in 2011 in the UK and 2012 in the United States, but it might have been 2012 in the US too. I mean, everywhere, not just the US. But it did still have it had a little bit of everything. It had the slow songs, it had the pop, like dancey songs, it had What Makes You Beautiful, it had a little bit of that rock edge to it. Like, and that's kind of, and as you get into their albums further, like they kind of dive a little deeper into that rock sounding thing. That's why we have Story of My Life and things like that that are a little bit different than obviously What Makes You Beautiful. But yeah, so like I was saying, they're famously terrible dancers and they did whatever they wanted to do on stage. And obviously, like if you look at NSYNC or something, like they are fucking amazing dancers. It's crazy. But especially later in their tours, they just like barely even had marks to stand on. Like that's what they would give them because they really weren't good at it. And it's like, what's more Brad than the anti-boy band becoming one of the biggest bands like worldwide? I mean, think about what you have in your head as an image for a boy band. Obviously, it's like a group of guys, probably like in their teens, early 20s that sing together. But when you really think of it, you do think of them doing the matching outfits, doing they're really pushing those people as like the lead people, doing like obviously One Direction, they were doing things like dating hot girls and famous people and stuff like that too. But like they definitely were marketed in a different way, and they definitely were the anti-boy band, which is what, and at the time I didn't even think that really, but like looking back, that's what they were, and that's kind of what they were marketed as being, which is pretty brat in of itself, you know? And like Niall said, you know, because you were number one in 37 countries, and you know, they were also definitely the only I forgot about this. Also, One Direction were definitely the only mainstream boy band that had multiple members chain smoking, which in and of itself is pretty fucking brat. I mean, it's super European too, and so is Our Young Girl from Essex, but come on, you gotta give that to me. So for those of you who are like living under a rock and don't know what brat is, or maybe you could be listening to this in the future, so it's like to time travelers, I will say, you know, this is gonna give you a real understanding of the brat vibe. Brat is like the freaks and geeks, you know, it's dropping your vape on the floor in the bar bathroom and picking it up. It's truly ripping darts with your friends in the Puffton Village or like on a Southie rooftop, you know, wherever you guys lived in college or now, I don't know what area of the country you're in, or at the end of an epic pregame, you know, or at the end of the night. And then it's like, you know, the smallest, skinniest girl is smoking half a pack, and it's saying, you know, you can't get hungover if you never stop drinking when planning your long weekend. And it's dingy like a club on Coruscant. It's chic like smudgy, debatably slept in, then touched up later makeup. It's the life of the party, even when you're the plus one. It's rebellious. It's grunge turned mainstream. It's skiing in the booth behind the DJ set if you're into that, but I've never done that, and that's not me. It's waking up when the alcohol leaves your body and eating a piece of pizza that you started when you got back from the bar and it's been sitting on your nightstand for 8 hours. The alcohol in your system will hopefully kill any pathogen there. But it's party girl culture when the world says, get your ass to Pilates. Just kidding. You can still do Pilates and be brat. I mean, come on, ladies. I did just say Harry Styles was brat, didn't I? And if anything, Charlie XCX reminds us that the party girl culture is feminist and important. I mean, especially in a world on the brink of fascism and authoritarianism. That explains why there are so many themes of questioning if she's doing the right thing, stopping her career in birth control, you know, fulfilling what she wants and what makes her complete while also trying to deal with these societal pressures. I also could probably do an entire episode about brat, but that can be another day. As you guys can tell, I'm very passionate about this thesis, but it's a great album. at the surface level of whatever and everything else, but like when you really listen to lyrics, and obviously some of them are more shallow than others, it really does go into a lot of these themes that I was discussing. For those of you who are like, did we listen to the same album? I'm like, yeah, you just didn't have your ears open. But as you can see, if being brat means to be true to you, and through doing so rebel against societal norms, primarily as a female in the spotlight in the context of Charlie XCX, but also just as a person within the context of your own life, then what is more brat than One Direction when speaking to obviously their position in the music and boy band industry, but also to as young men in the spotlight who were worked more than they physically should have been. You know, I don't know. I could probably talk for like 6 hours about the whole One Direction, Justin Bieber being taken advantage of, and other people were too. But I'm just saying, like, those are pretty bad like situations. But so moving on, something new I learned this week on Instagram is that the Christmas tree. I literally. It's in the other room. Fuck. But I like have one because I had it in my bag from work. I probably brought it home by accident a couple months ago. But the Christmas tree we use for the oxygen at work is like this little green thing. It's actually, the real name is called a swivel barb nipple nut. So do with that what you will. I don't know. But speaking of, I was like, what the fuck? So I was like, I just have to share this. But speaking of nursing, I think there's something to be said about that a lot of people don't talk about, because obviously it's like a lot of families have their experiences where they're really close with the nurses and stuff too. But it's like, the nurses also kind of, we have that too, you know? I mean, there's something to be said about the relationship you can grow to develop with your patients when you work as a nurse. I mean, obviously a lot of the patients are there for a short time with more quote unquote normal things. And, you know, we have patients that are very difficult too, that like you can't, like, it's not really anything to do with them. It's just, you can't really bond with them. I mean, but I've bonded with people that are like 2-second Sally dementia people. They're cute. You know what I mean? Like, you can bond with anybody if you're with them long enough, you know? But it's like, those can be taxing in itself if you have someone that's difficult though, and it's just like a lot of stress mentally to work with. I mean, it's exhausting to deal with that for 12 hours straight or more. I mean, however many days in a row that you're working. And on the other hand though, sometimes we have patients that stay in the hospital for weeks at a time, or maybe are frequent flyers, like have chronic issues that they're constantly coming in for, and a lot of times they have them on our floor and stuff. Whatever it may be, it can be hard for us as caregivers, because it's like you see these people, like whether it's their own decision because they're not taking their meds, or like they just have really bad diseases that are deteriorating or whatever, like it can be heartbreaking. Like you get to know these people and it's just like they're so sick, and like you literally like watch them die. It's awful. And like you do everything you can, but like sometimes it's like maybe you're not watching that, but maybe they had a stroke or something, or like they had something that like now they have all these lifelong issues, and like, but they're sitting in the hospital for a long time. You get to know them and it's like, I'm happy with them, they're getting out of here, but it's like, it is sad, like, to say goodbye and everything else. And it's like, hopefully, like, they do better and they do all the things they need to do and they take care of themselves. It's just like, it can be emotionally taxing. Like, it can be hard. And like, I think it makes the job hard for sure. And like, I do love getting to leave work at work and everything else. But sometimes if you have more emotionally taxing shifts and you have those relationships with patients, and then they do end up going on hospice or something does happen to them, that's like, it can just be pretty hard and upsetting. And like, I think it's a part of the job we can forget about if we don't have patients that are like, if you don't have a patient that you bond with for a few months, then you'll get someone and then hopefully nothing happens. But if something does, it can be heartbreaking. And, you know, I'm just saying, hug your healthcare worker friends out there. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of stuff about it, and things have been happening with my job and stuff too. It's like in the last like year or so, like there's just been a lot of, I feel like heavy cases, you know, it's hard. But on a lighter note, in the luxuries of nursing, I had to shave another person's crotch the other day at work, so hopefully some people got a laugh out of that. I mean, it's just funny. I mean, it's like, obviously, if I have to do it, I have to do it. You just don't usually have to do that at your fucking day job. But it's just like, oh God, shit, here we go again type of beat, you know? So I know there's a lot of talk recently, too, about the nightmare blunt rotation, but I'm going to spitball my own dream blunt rotation, you know? Not pictured as me in the iron lung on the side, but I was trying to think of people, and obviously there's a million people you could do. I was trying to think of like fictional characters, though. I think it's a little bit more like fun because they're not real. But like, I just am kind of shocked at how few like female stoner characters there are. Like, but then I honestly, as I was doing research into it, like there are some films and stuff I have to see, like Jackie Brown. I guess there's a girl in there that's famously a super stoner. Like there's a movie Smiley Face and Anna Faris I haven't watched, but like, maybe I'll brainstorm one night. I'll create my first, like the biggest female stoner character of all time. But I almost want to go with, like, when I did come up with this list, I'm like, I almost want to say Hyde from That 70s Show, but it's like, I'm not talking about Danny Masterson. Like, but it's like, I love that show. And like, I'm going to go with Donna though. She's fucking cool as hell. I love that ginger bitch. Grogu, Baby Yoda, he's chill as hell. That's my baby. I have a little baby of him. But the Workaholics guys, I mean, speaking of like sexist people that are stupid, but no, I just that's just hilarious. Like I think they'd probably be fun to like have in a blunt rotation. Harold and Kumar, I actually watched Harold and Kumar go to White Castle for the first time a couple weeks ago, and it was hilarious. I like had never seen it before, and Joe was like, "You always pick good movies." I was like, "This is a pretty good one." SZA isn't fictional, but she's chill as hell, and I was just trying to think of someone that would be really cool to have. Scooby and Shaggy would be a good one too. They always are down. I order some food for the munchies. Lindsay Weir from Freaks and Geeks, that's my girl. Louis and Zayn also aren't fictional, but in that one video of them smoking that got leaked when they were in One Direction, like you were canceled. But yeah, there's not a ton of fictional female stoner characters, so I'm gonna have to brainstorm more and come up with a better list later on that's more thorough. That I spent more than just like, because I was just thinking about this and just like it wasn't something I spent a ton of time on, but then here's some things that give me anxiety for no reason. I guess we could start with sativa, but I've talked about that. Returning packages, even Amazon. I don't know why. It's stupid. Like it doesn't. It literally just like gives me anxiety for no reason, and I'll be like, oh, I can't do this. And it's like, what? Having to make a call with a purpose, like to a doctor's office. It's not that I'm not doing anything, by the way. Like these things just sometimes I'm like, oh my God, for some reason I'm having anxiety about doing this, and this is so fucking stupid. Having to make a call with a purpose, like to a doctor's office or dentist's office or something, like that's like, that's just like a legit call. Like even if it's no big deal, and like, I can order pizza, no problem. But like, if I'm like, hey, like, I would like to make an appointment for this or something. Like, I'm like, because it's just like, I feel so awkward. And it's like, there's no reason to. It's stupid. It's just all in my head. Also, when my apartment is messy, it gives me anxiety and I act crazy. And then I'll be like, I'll clean the apartment. And then I'll be like, I must have been feeling stressed out because the apartment was dirty. And it's like, I'm like an animal at the zoo that needs like my my cage cleaned. Like, it's like, I literally need to be neat or I get upset. But there's actually a lot of things in life that just like give me anxiety for no reason. And it's like, again, I know it's like, I don't let these things get in my way. It's just like, what is wrong with me? But it depends on the moment. I'll try to think of some more things, but, I'm sure you guys may have heard me say some pretty out of pocket shit, but like I have a hot take of the week this week and I'm going to go with that. Everyone's always her body, her choice until a girl with big boobs is trying to get her nipples pierced. That's always when the hate comes in. You know what I mean? Or some girl's trying to get her first tattoo. That's when people are like, don't put a bumper sticker on a Bugatti or whatever the fuck. Oh, or on a Benz or whatever the hell Kim Kardashian said. But not that I'm trying to do any of these things, but it's just like, I don't know. If you guys have any hot takes, let me know. If I think of one, if I have one of the week, I'm gonna put it in another episode too. So today's Facebook Marketplace finds, because you guys know I stay seeing shit on there. I saw a $50 Twilight Bedazzled book, which was cool, I guess. A $25 large dramatic possum in a black frame. $20 brothel inspector badge for Kansas City, a $50 September 12, 2001 issue of the Providence Journal. I'm sure you guys know what the cover looked like. A $125 1993 Elvira autograph Coors Halloween store display standee. I'm like, I know what I'm getting Steven for his birthday. No, it was kind of dope. It was just funny. I saw that on Facebook. A $200 mother of pearl seashell caviar plates with spoons, and a $350 vintage rare Lady Angel lamp with lily shades and mirror. So, I don't know. A lot of these things aren't even crazy things. They're just like unique items I've like never even heard of, or I'm like, I can't believe they're selling it for this much. Okay, so finally we're getting to the end of the episode and you guys are probably like, thank God. But I'm going to start with my slightly obsessed list just before I let you guys go. I love Lola Young's new song, Dealer. I love Somber's new song, 12 to 12. Actually, I haven't even watched the music video that Addison Rae's in, but I've seen clips. It looks good. I saw this Instagram account. I'm only really shouting it out because it's like the dedication to the craft. It's this account, Liam Lates, and it's this guy, I assume his name is Liam. And it's him in like a million different places just like laying down. But I guess he's been doing it for almost like 10 years. Like I think he started in 2016 or something. So that was interesting. And then Central Air Conditioning, I Love You. I just love that I'm not sweating my ass off sitting in my apartment when it's hot outside. Because I don't deserve that. I deserve to be sitting in the central AC. And then also, Janie's finally home from her long trip away. But she came over last night and we made I don't know if it was called the Funfetti. It might have been called Celebration Cake or something. But it was a Funfetti cake mix that I bought from Whole Foods. And it was so good. It was actually delicious. And I just like shouting it out in case you guys want to try it. But thank you guys so much for joining me today on High Functioning Slightly Faded. As always, my name is Julie, and if you guys want to send me situations you want me to give you guys advice on, you want to send me memes, you have any insight for the podcast, you want me to research anything, whatever you guys want, like, you can contact me on Instagram, Reddit, and TikTok. They're all HFSF Pod. So please reach out. You know, I like love when people send me shit randomly. It like makes me laugh. But okay, guys, that's all I have for today. I'm probably going to the beach soon. Bye. Have a good one.